The door creaked again. This time, it wasn't the wind. Aiton turned sharply toward the sound. Her heart was pounding in her chest like a warning drum. Matten motioned for silence and slowly pulled Aiton behind the large bookshelf, keeping his hand on her shoulder to steady her. Footsteps echoed across the marble floor upstairs. "Who could it be?" Aiton whispered. "No idea. But whoever it is, they've been watching us," Matten murmured, eyes narrowed. The two stood still, listening. The footsteps stopped for a moment, then the sound of something or someone rummaging through papers filled the silence. Matten moved first, silently tiptoeing toward the hallway. He gestured for Aiton to stay behind. But Aiton followed. She couldn't stay hidden anymore, not after what she had just learned. Whoever was in the house might hold more answers. They climbed the staircase slowly. Each step creaked under their weight. As they neared the top, the hallway light flickered, then went out completely. Darkness swallowed them whole. Suddenly, a shadow moved at the end of the corridor. A tall figure in a black coat turned the corner and disappeared into one of the rooms. Aiton's breath caught. They reached the room, door slightly ajar. Inside was chaos. Files scattered across the floor. A drawer broken open. Whoever it was, they were searching for something. "Maybe they're looking for the will," Matten said, scanning the mess. Aiton knelt down, picking up a torn photo, her father and his best friend, the one he always called Ollie Day. "They don't want me to find the rest of this," she whispered. And just then, on the corner of the table, Aiton noticed a tiny black device blinking red. "A voice recorder," she murmured. Matten picked it up. "We need to leave. Now." But as they turned to go, the front door slammed shut below. They were locked in. That evening, Aiton sat alone in the garden behind the house. The cool Baku breeze swept through the trees, brushing against her skin like a whisper from the past. Her thoughts were racing. Everything she knew about her life had changed within hours. She remembered how her aunt and uncle treated her always cold, always distant. They never let her ask questions, never spoke of her parents with warmth. Now it all made sense. Just as the sun dipped below the horizon, she heard footsteps. Tin appeared, holding his phone tightly. "Aiton, I think you need to hear this," he said. He pressed play. It was a voice recording. Her aunt's voice echoed through the speaker, speaking sharply to someone. "She's getting too close to the truth. If she finds that will, we're done. We need her out of the house," distracted, silenced. Aiton's breath caught in her throat. There was no longer any doubt. Her aunt and uncle had planned everything. They'd hidden her inheritance, controlled her life, and now they wanted her gone. But they had made one mistake. They underestimated her. Aiton stood up, her eyes steady with fire. "They took everything from me. My parents. My future. But now it's my turn." Matten gave her a nod. "We'll do this together." Together, they would uncover every secret and expose every lie. And Aiton would no longer be the quiet girl in the shadows. She would rise. The city of Baku shimmered in the distance as Aiton stood on the balcony of the villa. The weight of the documents in her hands was nothing compared to the fire that now burned inside her. The truth had finally found light. Matten leaned against the railing beside her. "They'll come after you now," he said quietly. Aiton didn't flinch. "Let them try." She made her first call to her family's former lawyer, the only one she trusted. Within hours, he arrived with a stack of files and an even heavier silence. "You were never supposed to see these," he said, spreading out contracts forged in her name. "Your aunt and uncle redirected everything after your parents' deaths. The car accident. I've always suspected it wasn't just an accident." Aiton's hands trembled, not with fear, but anger. "They built their empire on my father's name. And my silence." "Not anymore," Matten added, his voice firm. Later that evening, Aiton stood before a mirror, dressed not in grief, but in determination. She pinned her hair up, slipped on her heels, and stepped into the role she was always meant to play. The next morning, she arrived unannounced at her father's company headquarters. Security hesitated until she showed them the original ownership documents. Gasps echoed through the lobby as the employees whispered her name. In the boardroom, her Uncle Ralph sat at the head of the table until she walked in. "What is this?" he demanded. Aiton laid the documents on the table. "This is the truth. And this," she looked him in the eye, "this is me taking my seat." A storm was brewing in Baku, and Aiton was its eye. Aiton stood at the gates of the company building, her father's legacy. The tall glass structure reflected the bright Baku sun, and with every step she took toward the entrance, she felt the weight of responsibility settle deeper on her shoulders. Inside, the board members were waiting. They had been skeptical. How could a young woman with no business background take charge of such a vast empire? But Aiton wasn't just anyone. She had survived betrayal, manipulation, and loss. She had discovered the truth about her family, fought for justice, and emerged stronger. She walked into the conference room confidently. Matten followed behind her, supportive as always. He gave her a reassuring nod before taking a seat. Aiton addressed the board. "I may be young, but this company runs in my blood. My father built it with his own hands, and I intend to honor that legacy, not by living in his shadow, but by creating a future that even he would be proud of." There was silence, then a slow clap. One of the oldest board members, a friend of her grandfather, stood up. "You have your father's fire. The company is yours, Ms. Aiton." That afternoon, Aiton signed her name at the top of the executive board list. She was now CEO. Over the next few weeks, Aiton took control. She restructured departments, boosted employee morale, and launched new projects focused on youth empowerment and women in tech, her dream. Matten stood by her every step. Their bond deepened, now built not only on love, but on mutual respect and admiration. One evening, as they watched the city lights from Aiton's office, Matten gently took her hand. "You've become the woman your parents always believed you'd be." Aiton smiled. "And I couldn't have done it without you." The company was flourishing under Aiton's leadership. News outlets praised her transformation of the firm, calling her a rising star among Azerbaijan's business elite. Employees felt inspired, investors trusted her vision. But with every rise, the shadows grow longer. Late one evening, Aiton sat in her office alone, flipping through an old notebook her father had kept. Tucked between 2 pages was a faded photograph, her father, a man she didn't recognize, and her aunt. Her heart skipped a beat. The man beside her father wasn't just anyone. It was Kamal, her aunt's husband, the same man who had tried to manipulate her life not long ago. Why were they together? What were they planning? Aiton whispered to herself. Just then, her phone buzzed. "Unknown number. You don't know everything. Some secrets are buried deep beneath your own name." Fear tightened her chest, but she refused to be shaken. She had come too far to let ghosts win. Meanwhile, Matten was working on a surprise for her, a private villa by the sea, where they could finally escape and breathe. But Aiton couldn't rest. She met with her father's old lawyer the next day. The man hesitated, but finally slid a thick envelope across the table. "Your father instructed me to give you this, only when you began to ask the right questions." Inside was a document labeled Project Sapphire, a secret investment tied to her father's past, one that could explain everything. One that also linked her aunt and Kamal to something far darker than she had imagined. Aiton looked out the window. Her past hadn't let her go, and she was no longer just fighting for her father's company. She was fighting for truth and justice.